What is up, everybody? We are here and back with the Walkthrough Game Day Show here on Mountaineers Now, a SI Fan Nation channel. I'm Schuyler, Callihan, host of the Between the Ears show, and I've also got my co-host of the Walkthrough Game Day Show, Eugene Napoleon, who's got his own show on our channel too, Relatively Sports. Be sure to check that out. A lot of really cool interviews that you do not want to miss out on. Eugene, this is our third season recording this show. It's been a lot of fun in the past. This year, we're going to add a new element to it. We're also going to have a post-game show. We won't have one in week one for the Backyard Brawl, unfortunately, but we will have one for the rest of the games. Gene, we'll just start off with first things first. What is something that you are most looking forward to for this West Virginia football season?
I don't want to put – you know how I feel about putting pressure out there on the players. But I'm just going to say one position, and I think by saying this one position, it'll sum it up all. Big time year from the QB position. Yeah.
I mean, we'll dive right into it. I mean, the quarterback, JT Daniels, transferred in from Georgia, had a lot of success both at Georgia and USC, although he didn't play much because of injury. That's the biggest thing, as you and I talked about before we hopped on the air. If he can stay healthy, and I know I feel like I'm getting sick of saying it because I've said it so many times since he's transferred, just the words, if he can stay healthy. This team, I'm telling you, Gene, like they could potentially win 9 to 10 games if everything goes right, along with him staying healthy.
If it clicks and falls into place, like you just said, Schuyler, there's no reason why they shouldn't win 9 to 10 football games. Yeah. I personally believe they have the roster. I think now with the staff being really settled and having the type of players that they recruited in your system now for a few years, with a big-time quarterback, there's no reason why West Virginia can't win. We can't win 9 to 10 football games.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, and me and Chris talked about this on the Between the Years show a couple of weeks ago. We did the opponent breakdown. I don't know that there's a win total that would make Neil Brown safe for his job, but I don't think he can win 5 or less games. If he gets to 6 wins, you can maybe say, okay, maybe because of all the transfers and da-da-da-da-da, and this is the first year with the new offensive coordinator, new starting quarterback, 6 wins, maybe. 7 wins, I think he's safe. But if you win 5 or less, man, that seat's going to start burning.
Well, listen, I agree with you on that, and hopefully that's not the case. But reality is what it is. You're 100% correct. When you have a big-time quarterback coming in, the expectations, as I just started off by saying, that is through the roof. When you have the type of roster that you have coming back and you've had some time to mold this team together, there's no excuses. Right. Again, there's no one on our schedule that we can't beat. Let's be clear. Yeah. But barring injuries, due to injuries, things of that nature, you don't know how the ball is going to roll throughout the season. But there's no one on our schedule that West Virginia cannot not only compete against, but couldn't beat. So I'm going to say 10-2. Worst case scenario, 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the schedule. We're going to get to it here in a few minutes. There's, like you said, there's not a team that's on the schedule that you look at like that's a dead set loss. That's a right. No chance in heck. This Big 12 is going to be wide open this year. I think Oklahoma State is going to take a small step back. Oklahoma, you have no idea what they're going to look like without Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, a quarterback. So there's an opportunity there for a team like West Virginia to kind of come out from the bottom half of the Big 12 and rise up into the top 3 or 4. Maybe you can compete for a spot in the Big 12 championship game. So this is our 2022 season preview. Let's go ahead and get into players that we are excited about, players that we're going to be watching this season, or just position groups. Gene, do you have anybody in particular or position groups that you're most excited to see outside of the quarterback spot?
I'm looking at, well, you already know what's near and dear to my heart. Yeah. So that running back room is sick. I think that, again, when you have young backs that are getting their opportunities to really shine, there's a driven hunger that goes with that. So I'm looking forward to the running back room itself being highly productive. And I'm going to shift over here a little bit. I love our defensive line.
Oh, yeah. How could you not? I mean, that's a seasoned veteran unit.
Yes. Listen, Big Sexy, starting off with my boy, man. Okay. I'm looking forward to him having another breakout year. And again, if that happens, it takes so much pressure off your back end. So for me, I already said the QB, that the quarterback room is one thing, but the RB room and those big sexies on that D line, man, I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out throughout the whole season.
Yeah, for me, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with the guys up front too, the O line. So the big sexies on the O line, because you've got all five guys returning from that starting unit. The only difference is they flipped Wyatt Milam, the true freshman. Well, last year was a true freshman, started at right tackle. He's going to the left tackle side. Brandon Yates going over to right tackle. I think it's actually going to work because Wyatt Milam's actually left-handed, so it's going to be more natural for him. But Brandon Yates, I will say this, his job's not safe. He is getting pushed by Jaquay Hubbard for that starting right tackle job. And that's what you like to see because you want to have some depth. And I think they're starting to finally get to that point where they don't just have their five and maybe one other guy that can rotate in as a depth player. They're getting 7, 8, maybe 9. I don't know if they're quite to 9 yet, but I think they've got 7 to 8 guys that they feel really good about up front. And everyone's talking about this unit. This could be the strongest unit on this entire team because of all that experience coming back. But you know how it is, Gene. You can't just look at it and say, yeah, they're going to be good on paper. They've got to put it on film and on the field. And let's be honest, they have not looked that great over the last 2 years, that O-line.
Right.
Even though they've played a lot of football together. Is this year going to be the year they start to click? I think it can be. And then on the defensive side, I'm really excited to see how the secondary looks because they've lost a lot of pieces with, Nick Choi Fortune, Darryl Porter going to the transfer portal, but they bring in transfers like Wesley McCormick from James Madison, Rashad Ajayi from Colorado State, Marcus Floyd from Murray State, Jasir Cox from North Dakota State. So a lot of FCS G5 kind of talent, but they've played a ton of football. And Neil Brown has said this a lot over the last couple of weeks. He thinks this secondary is going to surprise a lot of people. They're more athletic, they're faster, they're smarter than they were a year ago, and they're playing fast. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference with this team.
When you have depth, I don't care at any position, when you have depth and you can keep guys fresh, but you don't lose anything when you bring somebody else in, that's one key, right? Going to that secondary with these young people coming in and already have played a lot of football, the football IQ changes. And one thing about DBs, when they're playing and not thinking, some great things happen now. When that ball is in the air, you got 4 or 5 ball hawks because they really know where they're supposed to be. And it's a timing thing. It's like dancing. It's a timing thing. It's a rhythm thing. When you are playing in rhythm back there and you got the big sexies up front putting the pressure on the QB, I don't care how good a quarterback is. I always say this, QBs can't throw on their back.
Exactly.
Okay? And if you do release on your back, the ball is going in the opposite direction because we're going to get it. We're going to pick it off. So I'm excited about all of that because I think that entire nucleus is something that we probably haven't had in a long time, but this is the right time to have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely the right season, the right schedule, the right time to have it. That's why I'm so excited about what I think we're going to put on the field in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, don't let me forget about Charles Woods too. That's a guy that Neil Brown and Shadon Brown have said that he might be the best corner in the Big 12. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Him going up against some of the best receivers in the league. You've got Dante Stills, Taj Alston trying to tee off on the quarterback. It's a very good situation for Jordan Leslie. And that's why I believe in this defense, even though they've lost a lot of pieces like Akeem Messidor, is just because Jordan Leslie, now in his 3rd season as the DC, he has found a way to make it work every single year. And I think that's the best attribute for him. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be in the mix for a head coaching job at some point soon because the dude can just flat out coach his butt off. But
very talented guy.
Yes. And lastly, Gene, I want to get your thoughts on this. The last 3 years under Neil Brown, they've predominantly been a zone coverage team. Right. This year, because of the athleticism, because of the speed, and just because of the physical traits that some of these corners and safeties have, and plus you have the guys up front, they're now able to play more man coverage versus zone. what does that do for a defense in terms of taking their game to the next level?
Listen, it gets them excited. Man up, baby. Man up, because when you have the ability to do that, first off, the opposite side of it, offensive coordinators like, oh man, they can go man across the board.
Yeah.
When you do that, you take away so many possibilities on the offensive side of the ball coming against you, because first off, there's so many routes that you can't run when you got straight up lockdown corners.
And then
It's
you
one
can
thing.
blitzes everywhere.
Absolutely. It's one thing to have one corner. Now you can focus, or if you're a good offensive coordinator, you can focus on the other side of the field, right? You can do route combinations that's going to screw up the back end of the defense because you only got one good corner. When you got two good lockup corners and two safeties that can really cover, what you going to do?
Exactly.
What you going to do? You screw up route combination, you screw up timing, and like you said, you can blitz from the freaking press box because you know that your guys are not going to get beat. That takes your defense to a whole different level when you can do that. Anytime West Virginia has been really good, even during my years there, we had a tremendous defense because our corners and safeties can play straight man.
Yeah. That's a whole nother level. They're going to be able to pin their ears back. They can load the box, and they're going to send so many exotic blitzes. But again, the thing is, it works like a marriage. Like, you have to have a D line that can actually get at the quarterback while only rushing 3, maybe 4 guys.
Right.
And sometimes that's what helps you have a good zone team. But if you can bring 7 guys, at the quarterback, and you got Charles Woods and maybe Rashad Ajayi locking things down on the outside, Jordan Leslie may start bringing 6, 7, 8 guys. Like,
Jordan Leslie might get in there and blitz.
he might get that excited.
Exactly, because you can do that when you have straight lockup corners, man. That really, it takes away so much, but it takes away from the offense so much, but it adds so much more confidence to your defense overall that I'm really excited about that. I really am.
This is going to be a lot of fun. The one thing I'll do this real quick. The one thing I'm looking really forward to, I think, is obviously the first game of the season against Pitt. I mean, I think every game or this time of year, every year, you're always looking forward to that first game, and you're like, yeah, it's the first game everyone's excited for. But this one, man, it's got something different to it, and it feels like we haven't had a game of this significance in quite some time. I mean, even that 2018 season when Will Greer and them were here, they were playing very well. But to go up against an opponent like Pitt, I know that the rivalry's been dead for about 10 years, or been sleeping for 10 years. But this game just means so much to these two fan bases, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is a game that's got to be played every single season.
Listen, I'm going to hit you with 3 whats. What? Man, are you serious? Absolutely. Listen, every game on the schedule, yeah, they're meaningful and everything like that. But let me just jump. Pitt.
And then Virginia Tech, later in the month.
Look, we'll get to them later. Pitt. You know what I mean? Again, you're 100% right, Schuyler. This is something that it really gets the fan base rejuvenated. It really gets everybody excited. I can't say it enough. Playing on both ends of the spectrum in those games, that's just a big one, man. And I'm glad that we start off with Pitt. I'm glad we start off with Pitt at Pitt. That's going to be the early pinnacle game of the season for what I think is going to be a really big year. But what a way to start it off.
Oh, yeah.
What a way to start it off.
You can't draw it up any better. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into our season predictions. Gene and I are going to break it down for you. You can tell us how wrong we are in the end. All right, so here it is, the 2022 WVU football schedule. We're going to go right down the list here. What we'll do is the first column is obviously mine. Eugene's the second one. If we think West Virginia wins that game, we're going to highlight that box in that bright neon green. If not, we're going to highlight it in a nasty looking red. So I have a feeling I might have a little more red than Eugene, but we'll see. So let's start it off first. You know what, Gene? The backyard brawl, it's going to be an interesting game. Pitt's a very good football team, even though I think a lot of people don't like to admit that. They're coming off an ACC championship title. And even though they lost Kenny Pickett, they lost Jordan Addison, that front seven, man, it is nasty. And that West Virginia line is going to get a test right out of the gate. They've got multiple NFLers or future NFLers on this roster on that defense. So it's going to be tough. I actually thought something tells me Pitt's maybe in a little bit better position, but I can't pick Pitt because people are going to get on me, and I just can't pick them just because I can't pick them. So I'm going to go with West Virginia here, even though I think it's a very close game that could go either way.
Listen, close game that can go either way. I agree with that. You already know. Please put that green in my column, please. Thank you very much.
We ain't wasting no time with that one.
Listen, bro, we ain't wasting no time.
Moving on to week 2. This is an interesting matchup because even though Kansas is kind of a team that everyone looks past, it's week 2. You have a Big 12 conference game this early in the season. That's very unusual. And if you do lose that Pitt game, Kansas may look at that and be like, hey, West Virginia's coming off an emotional loss against a rival. They could come in here and sneak another one and drop West Virginia 0-2. Kansas is getting better. Lance Leipold is a very good football coach. They're on the rise. I don't think they're quite there yet. So I'm going to go with the win for the Mountaineers.
I echo everything you just said. That's a really good coaching staff. Lance is a very, very good coach. He knows what he's doing, obviously, but I don't think they're quite there yet. So I think obviously West Virginia wins. I think we win this game handedly.
And I for some of you watching this, you may be looking at this next one and be like, what the hell? What logo is that? Is that a tiger? Is that a Bengal? Is that a lion? What is that? It's the Towson Tigers. So the FCS opponent, the only non-Power 5 opponent on West Virginia's schedule. Gene, this one's going to get ugly. Towson is not a good FCS school. They're not even really in a mid-tier FCS level team. This might be over before the end of the first quarter.
Listen, I can't even. Okay, just put the green in my column. We're not even. Okay.
we don't need to get too disrespectful.
We don't need exactly. Just okay. All right.
So this next one, this one's got a lot of importance as well. The Black Diamond Trophy, West Virginia won it last year at the goal line. If you remember, Jackie Matthews, who's now with Mississippi State, came away with the PBU at the end.
Right.
Now you go to Blacksburg on a Thursday night. This is a tough matchup. Even though I think Virginia Tech's going to be in a little bit of a rebuild, it's a challenging atmosphere. If anything goes wrong early, doubt creeps in. You got a young team that's rebuilding that's going to get some confidence maybe going. This is a scary one, but I'm going to go with West Virginia just because of the experience and because of the situation that they have.
No doubt. And listen, whenever you talk about Pitt and West Virginia, Virginia Tech and West Virginia, there is no reboot. There is no, because of the history of these two schools, it's going to be a good football game. But I think the Mountaineers get the job done in Blacksburg. I give the Mountaineers the win.
Now, I promise you we're not biased. We both have them 4-0 through the first month of the season. And this is where things really start to get interesting, because if this scenario plays out, you're talking a win over Pitt on the road against a top 20 team. You've got another win against a Big 12 opponent. You've got a win against Virginia Tech on the road in a tough atmosphere. You're probably looking at West Virginia being ranked in the top 25 at this point, entering this game against Texas. I don't know. I can't get myself to believe that Texas is going to be that good, but this is a very, very physical team that Texas has, and arguably has the best running back in the country, Bijan Robinson. West Virginia struggled against the run the last few years. I don't think that they can go into Austin and get this one done. I'm going to go with Texas in this game. First loss of the year.
Okay. I think it's going to be a good football game. You're 100% correct. I think that kid is a stud. I think he is probably one of the best running, if not the best running back, in the country. But for some odd reason, I think our defense will be ready for that. I think because you're coming off of those victories, I don't know. I'm still picking WVU. It'll be a close football game, but I'm still picking WVU.
So Gene's rolling 5-0 into Baylor.
Yep.
And this one is tough too, because Baylor, the preseason Big 12 predicted champ, they won the Big 12 last year. Dave Aranda is a tremendous football coach. They've lost a lot of pieces off of that team, but this might be the most athletic defense that he's had, and that's his calling card. And I think that's the scary thing about this. I'm going to go Baylor, and this is where it starts to really test this team. Can they withstand this two-game slide?
Now, for everything that you just said, I agree, and I'm gonna add something else to that. Baylor is so well coached in every phase of the game. Their special teams have been lights out. They don't struggle in certain areas that most teams do, and that's because they're so well coached. So, as much as I hate, this is my trap game. As much as I hate to admit it, I have to agree. I think if West Virginia stumbles, it'll be at Baylor. It'll be, playing. Yeah, I thought that as well.
So Texas Tech. Now, this is a school that Neil Brown, for whatever reason, has not had much success. Actually, zero success. He's 0-3 against the Red Raiders. That's got to change, Gene. Like Chris and I talked about it in one of the Between the Years episodes. You cannot continue to be the head coach at West Virginia and losing to a program like Texas Tech. And I'm not trying to be that hard on Texas Tech, but this is a program you should be consistently beating, not losing to. So 0-3 against Texas Tech. They go to Lubbock for this one. Texas Tech's in a full-blown rebuild. They may be the worst team in the Big 12 this year. And I'm saying even worse than Kansas, because I think Kansas is going to take a step. This has got to be a win for West Virginia. I don't see it any other way.
Right. Let me tell you something, man. This is like changing your underwear in your socks, brother. This has to change. It has to change. And I think this is the year that it will change. And I think it'll change. Matter of fact, hopefully they win big enough to take care of all the other previous years of losses. So I'm with you on that. That's a game. That's a must win. You have to beat them.
TCU, they're ushering in a new coach as well, Sonny Dykes. This is going to be weird to play against the Horned Frogs and not see Gary Patterson strolling the sidelines. But this is kind of a weird team, a weird situation, because even though they got a new coach, I still think they're going to be pretty good. The offense has a chance to be explosive, electric. The defense, on the other hand, is going to be a train wreck. And it was last year under Gary Patterson. I think if he was still here, I would have more faith in that defense turning it around. But without him, I don't know. I think this is a game that's going to be a vintage, like 2012 Big 12 shootout. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I just have this weird feeling about this game that TCU is going to end up being the last one with the ball, and they're going to find a way to score. So I'm going TCU here, even though I think this could go either way too.
Well, I don't share that opinion. Only because I just think their defense is so there's no stability at any position on their defense. I think their offense, will put up some points, but for some reason, I think our offense will this will be a breakthrough game for West Virginia's offense. I think we win big.
Big, okay.
I think we win big, yeah.
Iowa State, another really good football coach in Matt Campbell. Man, Gene, it seems like we could say this about almost all of these Big 12 schools. It seems like the Big 12 has become a really good coaching league. But they're going to take a step back this year. You lose the quarterback, Brock Purdy. This is the first time in years that they have not had a stalwart in the backfield, whether it been, David Montgomery or Breece Hall last year. So there's a lot of question marks with this Iowa State team. I think this is a good chance West Virginia rebounds, gets back in the win column, and comes home for a big matchup against Oklahoma.
Listen, I agree 100%. I really do. I don't think, again, you're right. They have a good staff there. They've done a really, really good job of building that program over the last few years. But I just don't see this being an issue or a problem for WVU. I think we win this game. I think it'll be closer than what people think, but I think we come out with a win.
Oklahoma. It's a team that West Virginia has yet to beat in the Big 12. And I swear I've said this each of the last 3 years. This could be the year. But this year, I really do think this could be the year just because Lincoln Riley's not there. You don't have Caleb Williams. There's a whole lot of turnover there. But they're still very, very talented, and they could still end up winning the Big 12, to be honest with you.
Right.
What happens in this one? I'll let you go first.
Unfortunately, for some reason, you just have those teams that they just have your number. And Oklahoma, for as many years, unfortunately, has been that team. They've been our Achilles heel. And unfortunately, I hate to say this begrudgingly, but I think that they continue that. And I think they beat us in a close one.
Yeah, I've got to go with you here too. And I think this one's going to be even more heartbreaking than last year, because if you remember, West Virginia had a chance to win. The offense just absolutely collapsed in that game in Oklahoma last year. I think something's crazier is going to even happen this year. I think it's going to be like a field goal bounces off the crossbar or something. Like it's going to be this close. And for whatever reason, they just can't beat Oklahoma. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Sooners here as well. Whoa, nope, not the green. We're going to go with the red. Okay, so now with final 2 games, Kansas State and Chris Kleiman, again, another very good football coach. They've got a new quarterback in Adrian Martinez, transferred in from Nebraska. Deuce Vaughn might be the most electrifying running back in the Big 12. Their defense, though, is probably the best unit in this entire league. And I think that's going to be one of the very many reasons I think they can compete for a Big 12 championship. And I think they'll get to Dallas. I really do. That's my bold prediction this season. But I'm going to go West Virginia here, and this gets them to bowl eligibility with their 6th win.
Well, I'm going WVU because I don't think West Virginia will lose 2 games in a row. So for that reason, and I know how talented, K-State, their defense is really talented, but I don't see it. Again, I think we'll be prime and ready. We know the importance of it. And at this point, you're rolling. Unfortunately, you have that setback at Oklahoma, but I don't see West Virginia losing 2 games in a row.
In the final game of the season against another team that's had their number, Oklahoma State, they're going to Stillwater for this one to wrap up the year. I for whatever reason, Mike Gundy just continues to exceed expectations. Last year, I thought they'd win 5, maybe 6 games. I thought that team was just nowhere near talented enough to win even enough games to get bowl eligible. And then he had them playing for a spot to get into the college football playoff and in the Big 12 championship. So they're going to be good. And with Spencer Sanders, he's probably the most consistent quarterback in the Big 12. I don't think that this West Virginia's team is quite ready to go up against that consistent, that well-coached team and be able to win just based off the fundamentals, the basics. This is a game I think is just going to come flat out down to coaching, and that's no knock to Neil Brown. This team is just not quite there yet.
Well, I like good old Mike, played against good old Mike. My sophomore year, I believe, was his senior year. We played them in the Sun Bowl. So, his pedigree speaks for itself. What he's done at Oklahoma State, it speaks for itself. But I'm going to tell you something. I think here's the year where there's going to be a lot of surprises, and I think that this will be one of them. WVU will go to Stillwater, and they will win the last game of our, of the season, and which will put them, at least for my estimation, which will put them at 10-2.
Yes.
And that's my expectation. Now, anything could change, but that's my expectation, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. So Gene's got them 10-2. I believe I have them at 7-5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So My predictions for the most part has kind of stayed consistent. I've kind of gone back and forth between 6 and 7 wins. I gave them an extra one here before I kind of had them splitting that Pitt Virginia Tech, those two Virginia rivalry games. But I'm going 7-5 for West Virginia. Eugene's going 10-2. That's going to do it for our 2022 season preview. The next time you catch us, we're going to be recapping really the first week of the season because of Pitt. We're not going to have a post-game show for that game, but we will be back the following week to preview the Kansas game, to talk about the Pitt game, and then we will have a post-game show for that one too. If you don't know what that is going to look like, our post-game shows will set this up right after the game ends. As Chris and Julia on the site, they'll be taking care of the post-game stuff. We're going to be hopping on here talking maybe 10 to 12 minutes. We'll get the video thrown up within an hour of the game ending, and you can check us out there. So, Gene, I know you want to plug some stuff. I know you've got a lot of great stuff going on your channel as well as ours. So if you have anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and let it be known.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. Again, I had the honor and privilege to have the great Tom Lemming, on my show, Relatively Sports with Eugene, Napoleon, and what a tremendous guy that he is. So that was really cool. And obviously, Napoleon's Corner, I did a really, really nice piece on West Virginia football because I'm so geeked and excited about it. So those are the two things that I have, and I'm looking forward to the season. And listen, let me, in closing this, let me say this now. Don't be too harsh on Schuyler when he's wrong about his predictions. I'm just saying, 7-5 is not lofty at all. So I think my 10-2, potentially 9-3, okay, is going to trump his 7-5.
And it's okay. Gene's going to let me know every time that I'm wrong. So
count on it.
He'll do it on here too. He's not going to be afraid to come out here and call me out. So I welcome it. But hey, I'll be happy to be wrong because that'll make things better for us. So that's going to do it for the 2022 season preview. I'm Schuyler Callihan, joined with me, my co-host on the Walkthrough Game Day Show, Eugene Napoleon. Be sure to check us out on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. You can follow us on Twitter at SI_WVU, and you can follow me at Callihan_. And like I said, we're not going to have a post-game show for the Pitt game, but we will be back the following week to recap the Backyard Brawl and talk about week 2 against Kansas.